Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Experience Maker Live. My name's Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker, author, coach, and podcaster. So happy to have you here today. As every week, I have an amazing guest today. And in fact, this is the first guest in nearly 80 episodes that I'm bringing back for a second go around. So you know that he must be special. Every once in a while in one's life, they encounter a person who puts their arm around them and it becomes a mentor and an advisor and a friend. And this guy has been that for me. And I so appreciate him because he's been in the industry for a while. He's learned the hard way, all the tips and tricks, and is not afraid to share them with an up and comer like me. So really appreciate him. He is the godfather of customer service and the author of the brand new book, I'll Be Back. How to get customers to come back again and again. He is the man, the legend, my brother from another mother, Shep Hyken, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Shep?
You are too kind. Thank you very much. And Grasshopper, reference to a 1970s TV show, if anybody can recognize that. When you did approach me and say, I want to get in this business, and it was fun because I had met you originally when I worked for one of my clients, which was Discover. You were managing their digital and social, and you were a marketing guru over there. And you said, hey, I want to branch out and do this on my own. Can you help? And of course we did that. But sometimes, I love it when the student starts to, at least become on a peer to the master, if not even exceed it. And you are doing amazing things. And I know we're here to talk about me, but I want to talk about you too. And you have a new book coming out. If
I do, but no,
watching this show don't know it.
Listen, Hyken, this is my show. I'm taking back
control. I know,
but
I want to tell them about the Experience Maker.
Well, actually, as it just turns out, Shep and I are releasing books a week apart from each other. And, this is how good of a guy he is. We were originally scheduled to release our books on the very same day, and he called his publisher and moved his book back a week, which was just the ultimate in friendship and professionalism, which I super appreciate. So here, I've got both in my hands. September the 14th is the Experience Maker, and September the 21st is I'll Be Back. And you know what? You got to go out and buy both of these books because you are going to learn so much about how customer experience has changed after a year and a half plus in a pandemic. And in Shep's book particularly, I want to talk about this concept of getting customers to come back again and again, because Shep, so many companies are focused on that single transaction, and they refuse to budge off of a refund or something like that because they're looking only at one transaction. Talk about how we got to look beyond that.
Sure. And by the way, it's so simple. It's common sense, but unfortunately it's not always so common. I have this idea about what it takes to get a customer to come back. And that is by focusing on the exact moment that the customer is in front of you or interacting with you at any level. Could be digital, could be in person. But here's what I want you to ask yourself. Is what I'm doing right now going to get that customer to come back the next time they need whatever it is that I sell? And you're focusing on the next time, every time. And when you do that the right way, the next time, every time, if they keep coming back, can become a long-term, if not even loyal customer.
I love that. And let's dig into that for a minute, because I'm in the middle of your book right now. I am enjoying it as I've enjoyed all of your books. And I always learn something, which is why I love reading them, because I always learn stuff from you. So there's a conversation that I'm in the middle of reading right now that has been percolating in my head as well. But I think you really brought it out in an interesting way, which is this obsession with NPS and CSAT and customer happiness, as you refer to it. And you compare the happiness to the behavior of the customer. Talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. And that really was the whole reason I wrote this book and said, it's time to write it. What should I write about? There was a client that I had a number of years ago who the client, and ironically, they're a hair salon organization. They hired me, the bald guy, Like it would be hiring you or me to come in and do the keynote speech on how you take care of people while you cut their hair or treat
Have you just, I have to interrupt you. Have you, I had this urge the other day. Have you ever walked into or wanted to walk into a barbershop and just ask for a cut and see how they react?
I tell them, I walk in and you can see what we look. I just say, take a little off the top, like a half an inch, a half an inch of my scalp. No,
That's awesome.
but so you know what, Dan, in a crazy way, I think that's why you and I get along together, because that's exactly the way I think. But I digress. So they hired me to speak, and I was interviewing the CEO in preparation for the speech, and we talked about how they measure satisfaction. And he said, we do it the same way everyone else does. We have our customer satisfaction scores, on a scale of 1 to 10. Were you happy with the haircut? Were you happy with the service? Were you happy with was it clean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? We ask him questions. And he says, but that's an important measurement. And I realized, yes, very important. But what you're actually measuring, and this is my interpretation of all of this, is you're measuring history. What happened the last time you were here? What happened yesterday? What happened, when you were here before? Now, history is really important. So don't give that up, because history tells you if you're doing a good job, and it also tells you where you need to improve if you listen to your customer and they have suggestions. But what he said we really love to measure is the behavior. And I said, well, that makes sense. Well, what are you talking about, though? Get specific with me. And he said the behavior of a typical customer. Now, there's different types of customers. There's customers with long hair. There's customers that get their hair treated for color. So what is the cadence of these different regular customers, the routine that we know we can predict that this is how this customer should react if we do a good job? They become a regular customer. They come once a month, once every quarter, whatever it is. And he says, and our goal is to move that first-time customer into the routine of a repeat customer. And ideally, move that repeat customer into becoming loyal to us. And there's a difference between repeat business and loyal business. If we have time, we can get into that. But really, that's what it is. They measure the behavior, because that's how they know they're truly successful. Somebody that said they were happy doesn't necessarily come back, even though they said, hey, you are awesome. We want to know they do come back. So hence the title, I'll Be Back, how to get customers to come back again and again. That's why I wrote the book. And there you go.
Well, I think it's so smart because, I've been saying for a while that NPS, it's a great measurement. It tells you how you're doing, but it doesn't tell you why. And I've seen so many times where, a head of CX will walk in and say, hey, our NPS scores went up this month, and everybody cheers and high fives. And then if it goes down, the conversation is basically all of the rationalizations why it went down. Well, the weather was bad and COVID's affecting people and this and that. But it never actually gets to the why. It just gets to the how. Right. And I think that when you bring it to customers being back, you now have a business metric that you can tie CX to, right, which also is going to get the attention of senior management more than I don't want to call NPS a fluffy statistic. It isn't. But, sometimes the knock on CX is that it's a soft skill, which of course is BS.
It's far from it.
But it's sometimes looked at that way. If we can tie it back to, oh yeah, this has to do with sales and retention and revenue and, things that the CEO cares about, I think we get their attention more. Yeah. So talk about this difference as you were mentioning between repeat customers and loyal customers.
Sure. And by the way, one other thing about the measurements to measure the happiness of a customer is I like to say, really, that's what you're doing. Are they happy? Are they not happy? The willingness to come back is different than the actual coming back. But I want to say that even though I'm going to get ready to talk about repeat versus loyal is the question you're asking. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you why repeat customers, that's okay, but not great. Okay. And you'll see why in just a moment. That doesn't mean you don't want repeat customers. Just because you said the measurements, I talk about how you're looking in the rear view mirror at a history lesson, doesn't mean you shouldn't use these measurements. They're extremely valuable. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying we need to look beyond that. So let's talk about repeat versus loyal. Why is the big question? Is that customer coming back to us again and again? And hey, as long as we were talking about the hair salons, why does this customer keep coming back? Is it that they love their haircut? Or they love the location because it's more convenient than driving 2 miles further to the next salon, a competitor's salon, which means if the competitor moves closer, am I going to lose that customer? So understanding the why behind repeat business is extremely important. Now, if you have customers that are loyal to you for whatever reason they might be loyal to you, that guess what happens? The convenience factor, they might drive a little further if it's a physical brick and mortar type location. They may spend a little bit more money. And this becomes really important. B2B and B2C, if we can make price less relevant. And I know, Dan, you're going to be doing a program later this year for my good friend John DeJulius and the customer service summit that he has. And one of the things John preaches is that a great experience can make price irrelevant. And I don't think you could ever make price completely irrelevant. You could just make it less relevant. By the way, John and I are in sync and all of that. It's just words that we're using, right? But I think the point is, if you want to create loyalty, you need to be able to go beyond, marketing efforts. For example, if I have a restaurant and I give you a punch card and tell you the 5th time you come here, the meal's free, that's the same as giving you a 20% discount. Okay. It just takes a little bit of time to get there. That's not a loyalty program. That's a marketing program. So understand what gets your customers excited. If you are an airline and you've got a great miles program, frequent flyer miles. Well, I ask often, and Dan, I'll ask you, what is the airline of, you don't need to give me the brand name, but do you go to the airline that you fly on a lot because you've accumulated a lot of miles with this airline? I mean, most people, that's what, the reason they choose. Yeah, that just happened to be the airline I have the most miles on. I want to keep getting more miles because I get free trips faster rather than spreading it out over a bunch of airlines. But if the airlines were to take all their miles away and nobody could get miles anymore and get free trips, would you still choose that airline?
Right.
And the answer to that,
an additional question, would you tell other people about it? Would
you
share
would you advocate? Would you evangelize for them? Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a point. And here's why I asked that, because now you understand what loyalty is. No, I was loyal to the points program, not to the airline. But if we can make it, well, so what if they take away the points? I love those people. They're great. They recognize me. The gate agents know who I am when I come in. Aha. And even something, and we'll use airlines. If I go online to book my flight, and there's 3 different airlines I have a choice of, and when I go on, one of them auto-populates all of my information because I've been there before. In a sense, they digitally remember who I am. But when I go to the other one, I've got to do it all manually. And it just seems like, okay, I'd just rather go to the place that's easier. Okay. That level of personalization is what could get that customer to come back. And that's digital personalization. That's not me telling you, hey, thanks for coming here. The last time you were here, you bought this, these glasses. Okay. By the way, I'll be back. We have a new model of these that really are really cool. Different lenses, they're better lens. Are you interested in seeing them? That's personalization. You remembered who I was, and you make me feel good, and you draw me in because of that. And that may be a big differentiator. Anyway, the point of loyalty versus repeat. Repeat business is gold, but understand the why behind the repeat business. Loyal business is sacred. And when you have loyalty, you also get evangelism, advocacy, if you will, where customers will talk about you to their friends, their family members, their colleagues at work.
All right. I love it. Before we get to our next question, I'm going to pop a comment on the screen from Brad Friedman, who says, wow, 2 incredible people I respect so much. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Well,
Brad, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you right back. Right, Shep?
I love Brad. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brad. Really appreciate it as well. If Brad, you or others watching have a question for me or Shep, please enter it into the comments in Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to put it up on the screen and get it answered by the one and only Shep Hyken. So, Shep, if we can continue this conversation about loyalty, I'm wondering if you could name a couple of brands, not necessarily that you're loyal to, but that you think have the most loyal customers.
So I love that. Great question. I'm going to give you 2 answers, and I'm going to use business to consumer because you'll recognize all the brands. And I'm going to use the cliche of all customer service brands, and that is
Amazon.
Amazon, okay.
Uh-huh.
They've done an incredible job of creating loyalty, and I'm going to tell you why I think they've created that loyalty. And then I'm also going to use Nike as another example. Um, let's use Nike. Talk about Nike first. If you join their membership program or whatever they call it, you pay no money to get there, okay? But what happens is you get access to information first. If there's a new technology in the type of shoe that you're buying, you're going to learn about it. It may not even be out yet, but they're excited about it. They're going to share their excitement with you, and you may get excited about it. If you buy, I just bought golf shoes from Nike, and I never went online and bought golf shoes from Nike before. I've bought other types of shoes, but guess what? They now know about me. They now know that I play golf, and I bought these golf shoes, and they are now giving me messages every once in a while about not just golf shoes, but about golf in general, things that would make me happy and play better. So they have created this membership program based on the personas of the different types of customers. By the way, they don't try to sell me basketball shoes, soccer shoes, or any other types of shoes other than the ones that they've seen me buy through their website because they know me that well. Next, let's talk about Amazon. Amazon has done an amazing job of creating a great experience. And you know what Amazon did a number of years ago? They said, for $25, we'll give you free 2-day shipping. And that was big because nobody was offering free 2-day shipping. But wait a minute, let's talk about what free really means. Free means $25, okay? If you use it enough, you take advantage of it. Well, today it's not $100 or $25. It's like $129. Is that right?
The best is no one knows what it is, which is kind of exactly your point, right?
Because it doesn't matter. You want to know why? We get so much value out of that membership program. And by the way, some people say, oh, Amazon's got a great loyalty program. No, they've got a great membership program. And when you decide to spend money on a program that gets you perks from a company, you want to know what you're thinking as a consumer? I want to make sure I get my money's worth. So hence, you are drawn to using the company that provides that membership program. It just so happens that Amazon does a great job at many different levels, and they also offer a very competitive price. And if it's not the most competitive, in other words, the lowest, they will even say you can find this product at a lower price. And here's the website, and it links you to them. But guess what happens? They're not in their marketplace, or they're not in that Prime membership, and you go, well, wait a minute, what about the free shipping? What about the guarantees? I'm not taking a chance. And you end up staying with Amazon. They are so crazy smart.
And like I said before, they understand the value, the long-term value of a customer. And so they're willing to lose money on a transaction if that's what it takes. I tell the story in my book about ordering pots and pans from them, a whole set of pots and pans. And I got one of the glass lids showed up shattered. And so I called them and I asked for a new lid. That's really all I wanted. And the woman tried to get me a new lid quickly and basically said, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Tell you what, let me just refund your money and keep the pot and pan set. Now, in 30 seconds, I went from being disappointed to having a broken lid to saying, lid, what lid? I got free pots and pans, right? So I'm thrilled. It makes me even more loyal to Amazon. And they know that. They know they lost money on that. Yep, they lost a few dollars. But the reality is they also locked in a loyal customer who will be back again and again. In fact, I was just doing some calculating the other day about, it told me how much I use the Smile where it donates, right? And it said that I had ordered something like 478 times or something like that. I was doing the math of like, whoa, how much exactly have I spent? But that's what they do so well because they are willing to look at the long game. I got another question from a viewer, but I just want to bring up a couple of brands real fast. I think two interesting brands that both have staunch loyalty are Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, they do.
Most people that you talk to are Team Starbucks or Team DD, and especially when it comes to coffee, and will not go to the other side. And it's really funny. I actually go out for coffee with a couple of buddies several times a week, and we're on both sides of that debate, right? So we sort of have to go back and forth sometimes. But I love that people are loyal to one of those brands. The other one that I think of is Maker's Mark. And I want to tell you a quick story about Maker's Mark. I was down at their distillery outside of Louisville in Kentucky. This was years ago. And I wanted to go do the distillery tour, and it happened to be closed that day only to ambassadors. And I said, wow, how do I become a Maker's Mark ambassador? And the lady's like, just sign here. Okay, sweet. So I put my name in, I signed, and all of a sudden I'm an ambassador. Didn't pay any money. Went in, did the tour. Well, when you become an ambassador, one of the things they do is they put your name on a barrel of bourbon. Now, what's fascinating about this, Shep, is the barrel actually sits in the rickhouse for 8 years before it can be bottled. 8 years. Talk about loyalty. Now, during those 8 years, Maker's Mark sends you updates about your barrel, like it's a child, like it's going through school. It rotated today and it moved from the front to the back, and it's, whatever. This is the temperature it's at. And every year at the holidays, they also sent me a Maker's Mark themed gift. So I got ice cube makers. I got, coasters. One year I got this huge tube in the mail. It was a Maker's Mark wrapping paper for the holidays, all this stuff. The end game, of course, is that when the barrel's ready, they want you to come down to Kentucky and actually buy 2 bottles from your barrel with your name on the label and all that. But the fascinating thing to me about this is for 8 years, Maker's Mark had no idea and no data on whether I had ever tasted their product, because they don't have that data, right? That data sits with the retailer. But this program, which is so well thought out and generates so much loyalty, I even have a little card that says I've been an ambassador since whenever year. It's now been 15 years, 20 years. But I love the fact that they didn't need to know whether I actually drank their bourbon. They just wanted me to be loyal to their brand. And I think that's so key that, I might be a Starbucks guy, but I can still be an ambassador on the Dunkin' Donuts brand too, right? I may not like their coffee as much, but I sure do like their donuts. So there's always that opportunity. And I think that was, to me, it's such an interesting example, because that was not a cheap program. They spend a lot of money on generating this loyalty, and yet they don't even have the business.
And guess what? You just gave them a 5-minute commercial.
I did.
World.
So, hey, everyone, go out and buy Maker's Mark.
Right.
All right. We've got a question from Jesse B. Good. We hear a lot about customer experiences that generate word of mouth. I feel like most examples occur in a B2C setting. How can we create these same kind of experiences in B2B? I'll bet you've never heard that question before,
Oh
Shep.
my gosh. I think in the B2B world, it's even more important that you can create buzz, because there's limited amounts of opportunity to do so. So the good news is because of the limit, it's not like it's a huge, this vast world we have to worry about. So think about the forums. And by the way, I always say there's you're always worried about online reputation. And most people think of online reputation through Yelp or TripAdvisor, or maybe ratings on a website like an Amazon that we've talked about. But in the end, the B2B world feels like, well, that doesn't apply to us. Wrong. It 100% does, because there are definitely industry forums where people are writing about you. You go to an industry event, a trade show, a conference, whatever, people are talking about you, and your reputation is just as important at that B2B level, and probably even more so. And I'll tell you why. If I want to buy like this jacket, I can walk into a mall and there's probably 10 places I can get a jacket like this. I can get blue jeans at 20 different places in the mall. And if one doesn't have what I want, I just move to the next one. Not any sense of loyalty whatsoever. Or maybe I am somewhat loyal, but there's so many choices. That's the point. In the B2B world, oftentimes there are nowhere near the number of choices. As a matter of fact, in some industries, a company that wants to buy a particular product might only have 5 choices in the world. And this is why this is really important. If you get that customer to do business with you, you do not want to lose them, because it's not like there's so many. It's like, where am I going to buy tomorrow? No, there's so few, and I know who all of them are. And on top of that, like, I've got a client that is in the manufacturing business of large pieces of equipment that a company might buy every 15 to 20 years. Granted, there's a maintenance contract that goes with that, and that's where they make the real money. But if they don't get that piece of equipment into their customer's manufacturing facility, they are going to lose the opportunity for the next 15 to 20 years to come back and get that customer. And they actually refer to that as a, he says, we made the mistake. It could have been sales. It could have been customer experience. But essentially, it is a generational mistake. It'll be a generation, a whole nother generation of, and when I say generation, I'm talking about like it might have been the baby, or not the baby boomers. It could have been the Gen Zs today. Well, now I got to wait 15 years. I don't know what the 15, 20-year mark, what they're going to call the generation then. But that's the next generation that could buy whatever it is we're selling. Jesse, it becomes more important than ever.
And Jesse, my answer is slightly more sarcastic than Shep's. Whenever anybody asks me, does this customer experience stuff apply to B2Bs? I answer with a straight face, well, it depends. Do you market to humans?
Yeah.
And then I wait for them to kind of think about that. And the reality is that your buyers are also consumers. And so they are comparing you not just to other B2B experiences, but frankly, to their consumer experiences as well. And so you got to treat them that way. And you got to give them an experience that is worth them coming back for and worth them sharing. And I think if you read both of our books, actually, you will find that we talk a lot about B2B, because B2B is where there is so much opportunity because of that misconception that customer experience is not a thing in the B2B space. So thanks a lot for the question, Jesse. Appreciate it. Shep, really quickly, you're so hard to find on the internet. Where do people find you?
Well, you could obviously just type in my name, but Hyken.com, HYKEN.com. And of course, the book, if you want to go and get a preview of the book, I'llBeBackBook.com. And hey, I know people are watching this today. The book doesn't come out for another few weeks. It officially launches September 21. And if you are interested in getting the book today, well, you can order it through our website. It'll be the same as Amazon, and we'll ship it to you. It'll come probably from Amazon or Barnes & Noble, but you will instantly get access to the ebook, which allows people to get their customers to say, I'll be back, without having to wait for the book to come back.
Because right, sooner than the competition, which is what we want. Outstanding. Well, Shep, thank you so much. The book again is I'll Be Back.
Yep.
How to get customers to come back again and again. Available everywhere fine books are sold. Please pre-order your copy today. Thank you, Shep.
Thanks for having me, man.
We'll see you soon. Quickly, for next week, we're going to have on the program Richard Dorfman. He is the Vice President of Customer Experience at Eastern Bank. So we're going to talk about the banking and financial services industry, which is also in need of some customer experience overhaul. And guys like Richard are in charge of that. So we will figure out what he is doing. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate it. We're back at our normal time next week, which is noon Eastern. And this is Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.